martial artist, and he has a pretty unique way about going about his martial arts career, and I'll let him tell you about it. But Willie, thank you for joining us today.
Thank you for having me. This is awesome. I love interviews. I love talking. So I think I'm a better talker than I am a fighter.
There you go. Well, I mean, it's awesome, and the fact that you have been able to kind of harness your acumen in fighting, you've kind of parlayed that into your own YouTube channel. And I'm a big proponent in just not just being about the fighter. I want people to be able to get inside the lives, the minds, the souls of the people that do it, because obviously there's easier ways to make money than getting punched and kicked in the face, right? But how you're right, but how are you able to expand that and make sure that your legacy, whether you're fighting in the cage or when your career is over, which wouldn't be for a long time, but how can you harness your name and likeness into something that is your enduring legacy, financially and otherwise? And you're doing that right now with your YouTube channel,
right? Which actually, and I mean, and the thing is, it's kind of like as my training picks up more, my videos slow down. So I'm trying to really stay on top of both, but to be quite honest with you, I don't like setting up the camera. I don't like doing the video editing. I just like doing the talking. I like just flexing the guns and flapping my lips. So that's what I love. But I know I have to still promote myself, and I know that not only do styles promote fights, but your story promotes the fight as well. And I love for people to know my story and what got me started and why I still continue. So if you like, I can share with you, what got me into MMA and my whole basically story.
No, for sure. And just a quick little tidbit on what you just said. I mean, why do you think I go live? Why do you think I go live?
Right.
So that's it. I can bypass all the editing and the whatever. And I'm actually working on an intro for this, and I'm doing that through Fiverr and having somebody else do it. But yeah, I mean, it's just like going live. It's you kind of develop your own style, and you don't have to do all the weird, quick camera angles and all that jazz.
Right. Yeah, absolutely. And then the upload is easier as well.
Yeah, absolutely. But it's a lot of trial by fire. There have been many a time. I'm grateful for the platform that I'm using now via StreamYard, and I can stream to both YouTube and Facebook simultaneously, and it's up there ready to share all that jazz. But the catch-22, is the fact that when it goes right, it goes absolutely right. And when it goes wrong, it goes horribly wrong. And just using like the native YouTube or Facebook lives or Instagram lives and everything, there's somebody that has connection issues on the other end, or you only have so much, an hour to fill and what have you. And a lot of things get lost in translation. And guess what? You can't back out because you're live. So everybody's going to see you fall on your face in real time.
Yeah, absolutely. But it's the beauty going live for sure. And people love watching the live videos, even if they don't watch it while it's live. It's just the fact that it was live. There's just something about it people love. So, yeah.
Absolutely. And thank you, Alejandro Ramirez, because you get to answer every question. But he's saying, we're live. According to Woods, it's live with Wilie Lee Henderson III and brought to you by YouTube and Facebook Live. So see, it's up there. It's up there, ready to share. People can comment in real time. So yeah, it's awesome. But yeah, I mean, obviously there's easier ways to make a living, right, than getting punched and kicked in the face, as we alluded to earlier. So what was it about mixed martial arts that drew you in?
Okay, so I personally have loved fighting and martial arts since I was a little kid. I grew up watching, Bruce Lee, Jackie Chan, the Ninja Turtles, Three Ninjas, anything that was martial arts, I just loved. I don't know why. It just drew. I just loved it. It's just beautiful when I see people do it. And then the fighting aspect, I would say that me growing up, I always was scared of confrontation. and scared of fighting. And in my eyes, fighting is kind of in a way there's two different types of fighters. You have berserkers and then you have technicians. And me, I always felt like the technician was the the beautiful the beauty of fighting, not so much the berserker that just goes wild. And I knew by watching so many different martial arts movies that I didn't have any of those techniques. So therefore, I knew in my head, I don't really know how to fight. So I was always scared of confrontation. And, it's just, no one likes being scared, right? Nobody likes being scared. And little do a lot of people know, almost everybody is scared of confrontation, which is okay. But to be fearful in a way that you will not act accordingly is not good, So me, I always wanted to learn martial arts and be able to defend myself and have confidence no matter where I went. And around the age 19, I had worked many jobs, and I was trying to figure out life. And I had probably had about 20 jobs by the time I was, 25, or well, let me back it up. About 21, 22. I've had a lot of jobs, and I was realizing that I hated every single one of them. And I kept watching all these, motivational speakers speak on, you need to follow your dream and your love and your passion and try to pay the bills with the skill that you're actually going to enjoy. So I'm like, okay, well, maybe I should take up fighting. Okay, but that was around the age of 21. But I started fighting when I was 17. Because when I was 17, my son's uncle asked me if I knew how to fight. This is when I was about 16. I told him no, I didn't. He asked me if I want to learn. I'm like, sure. So he started teaching me, jiu-jitsu and kickboxing, like just in his backyard. And then and this was like, don't get me wrong, he had some good techniques, but a lot of the training was just mediocre. We weren't, I wasn't running. I wasn't doing strength and conditioning. I smoked cigarettes back then. I wasn't really training the way I was supposed to, but I still got in the cage and fought from age 17 to 19. And I fought 4 times. I won twice and lost twice. But I realized even after the first fight that if I'm not going to train, this is not something that I need to be doing. I knew that I was just going to, for one, have a horrible experience of being fatigued and just basically trying to defend myself. And then on top of that, I didn't know anything. So I realized that fighting is something that you need to train for. And so from age 19 to 21, I stopped fighting, and I was just going on about my business, working. I completely forgot about fighting. But then around age 21, I realized, because my older brother started fighting too, and he continued, and I realized, I'm like, hold on. I can make money doing this. This can be a career. I'm going to get back into martial arts. So around the age 21, I put myself into Taekwondo, and I haven't stopped training ever since then. I started doing Taekwondo. I did Taekwondo and a little bit of MMA for about 2 years. And then I stopped going to Taekwondo and started training under a Chinese man who got his training in international self-defense, San Diego, California. And he brought that knowledge back here to Cape Girardeau, Missouri. And I trained under him for about 3 years. So in total, I've been doing martial arts now consistently for about 5 years. And the last 3 years, it's been not just consistent, but like every day training. And then certain weeks I'm training like literally like 10 times a week, like 2 times a day, anywhere from 3 to 8 hours of just nonstop training. And so, yeah, this is my obsession. This is my passion. This is what I love. So that's what I'm doing. I've been kickboxing for the last 3 years, and I've done, I think, about 4 jiu-jitsu tournaments in the last year. And so I'm going to continue to do jiu-jitsu tournaments, and soon I'll be going back to MMA because now my striking and my jiu-jitsu, my judo, and my wrestling is up to par for MMA, because a lot of people get into MMA that are maybe good at just wrestling, but not so much striking, or maybe good at striking, not so much wrestling, or maybe they have jiu-jitsu and not so much wrestling, judo, or striking. But me, my former sensei trained me to have a style of everything from the ground up. So, you know, I wanted to be very well-rounded when I got back into MMA, because, you know, you can kickbox all day long without worrying about takedowns or ground game. You know, same with, you can go to jiu-jitsu tournaments and not worry about striking. There is no striking, you know, so you can break down the arts individually, and then in the dojo, you're bringing them all together. And then when you go to MMA, it's just, you're completely well-rounded. So, you know, I'm a very well-rounded martial artist, and I train everything. I train both sides. You know, when I switch stances, it's fluid. This, me standing in orthodox and southpaw, it is the same to me. You know, it's the same. It's like using both eyes for me. I'm not going to do this, you know what I'm saying? I'm going to use both my eyes. So, yeah, I train to be, you know, as well-rounded as physically possible. So, yeah, that's pretty much my story, all in a couple minutes.
No, that's brilliant, and I love how you kind of summarize it all down. You know, but it's got to be funny, right? Because obviously, you know, when you think about Bruce Lee pictures, you know, and movies and what have you, you know, you're thinking about the striking aspect of the Bruce Lee aura, so to speak, right? Although, you know, Bruce was kind of the first one, you know, within the confines of Jeet Kune Do, you know, he was training with Judo Jean LaBelle here in Los Angeles in terms of, you know, his grappling prowess. We didn't get to see any of that in his picture. It didn't really translate, but it was there, right? But again, you know, as a young child that was watching Bruce Lee and Jet Li films, you know, primarily strikers, what was the need, the attention that you felt you needed to give to the grappling aspect of mixed martial arts? And I mean, what was that first day like? You know,
Okay,
thinking about striking and then going to grappling.
So the thing is, so I have a very open mindset, like Bruce Lee. I will never look at a technique or a style or a martial art and think to myself, I don't want to use that, or I can't use that, or it's not useful. Every technique is useful, even if it looks like it doesn't generate much power, or your positioning is off, your footing is off, you're not very balanced. There will ultimately come a time where you can use any technique, basically. And so I had that in mind, and also it's just part of it's part of fighting. Fighting is fighting. So anything I can use, rather that's fighting in the pocket, fighting from a distance, grabbing a hold of somebody by the arms, by the neck, or shooting for the legs, like fighting is fighting. And then of course for MMA, you have to know it. I mean, if you want to be the best, you have to. So when I started wrestling, I hated it. When I started doing judo, I hated it. Why? Because I don't like another grown man grabbing a hold of me and me not being able to not just defend myself, but get the upper hand, be the one that that scores the takedown and lands on top. So at first I didn't like, and then plus wrestling is really it's tough on the body. It's like, you know, so I look at a lot of the arts as like as elements. I look at karate as like air. You're moving around, quick strikes, evading a lot. But wrestling is more like earth element. It's hard. You got to be like a rock. You got to be strong. And you know, I didn't like wrestling at first. I did not like shooting for doubles or singles because I felt like it was like football, where you're just smashing into one another. And I did not like that. I like to try to touch somebody without them touching me. Like if I'm touching you, it's gonna be my fist on your face, you know what I'm saying, or my foot on your stomach. It's not gonna be like I'm gonna grab a hold of you and therefore like it's full body connection. I did not like wrestling when I first started, but now I'm in love with it. Why? Because I know how useful it is, and now I can really grab somebody and control them and take them down. So at first I didn't like wrestling at all. Same with judo, but now I love it. When someone wants to grab a hold of me, I'm like, let's do it. Come on. I'll give you a grip, you give me a grip, because I want to see who's going to take who down. So yeah, I did not like wrestling at first. I did not like judo at first, but now I absolutely love it because it is essential for martial arts and for self-defense. It really is.
No, absolutely, absolutely. And I mean, it's not to say that you can't get to an elite level, on any one, being a specialist, right? We saw none other than, Pat H.D. Barry, who was a top 10 heavyweight in the world in the UFC and primarily became he was primarily a striker, he's essentially the head coach of his fiance, Thug Rose Namajunas, right? But he essentially retired from MMA after getting taken down so many times and, resigning himself to kickboxing and glory because, he just didn't want to engage on the ground. So it's very cool. And that you're so open-minded to kind of learn, all aspects of, mixed martial arts and giving them their due time. When you're kickboxing and what have you, you're kickboxing and focusing on that, and then when you grapple, you focus on that, and you'll do straight jiu-jitsu, straight wrestling competitions and all that jazz. And then, like you were saying, it's once you have all those things at your disposal, it's up to you and your coach and your dojo to kind of bring them all together and, bring your kind of mentality to each and every segment of the game.
Right. And like I mentioned at the beginning of the day, I'm a martial artist for self-defense. So I can defend myself, my family members, my friends, and anybody around. You know what I'm saying? Like if I'm out in public and some big guy slaps some chick and I want to intervene and I want to help, I can. And that makes me feel good about myself. And so when you look in terms of self-defense, what happens if this guy is really big and strong and say he tries to bulldozer me? Well, I have to have judo, because what happens if there's a wall behind me and I can't circle out? I'm going to have to grab a hold of him, use his momentum, and take him down. I'm going to have to sweep him, or I'm going to have to trip him, or I'm going to have to throw him, or I'm going to have to shoot for the legs and take him down. Now I can do that. And it just, when you have the desire to be very well-rounded and with self-defense, you will learn to love all the techniques. And when you go against people that are better than you or as good as you, it's one thing. But when you go against people that don't know martial arts, you truly get to see how they turn you into a superhuman, really.
No, absolutely, absolutely. And I think this, is a great time to kind of broach this question because Alejandro Ramirez, and thank you for chiming in. He says, "Hey, Willie, if you had an opportunity to assemble a 5-person fight team, what would be your 5?"
John Jones. I wonder if okay, I'm gonna just do anyone, either if they're passed away or not. So
right.
Muhammad Ali, Bruce Lee, John Jones, Anderson Silva, and Conor McGregor.
Ooh,
yeah,
that is good. I like that. You know what? I'm going to take an opportunity to answer it. I know it went to Willie, but I would definitely have Judo Gene LeBell, right? And we've got Judo Gene LeBell. Bruce Lee's a good, he's a good pick. I might go that way as well, all right? Then let's go George St. Pierre, John Jones, say Tyson in his prime, and there's one other. So, Francis Ngannou. How about that?
Yeah. Okay. Yeah. Beautiful, beautiful choices. See, and
There,
you know, there's a part of me that doesn't like to or there's a part of me that doesn't like to choose Bruce Lee because of his size. But there we go again with that kind of brute mentality of thinking, you know, what if we're surrounded by bigger guys? It doesn't matter because when you have crisp striking like Bruce Lee, doesn't matter the size. He's gonna hit you on the chin or he's gonna hit you to the body somewhere where he's gonna put you down. You know. So one thing I love, excuse me, about Bruce Lee is from my knowledge, he's one of the very first people to mix kung fu with Western boxing. And when you watch the UFC, not a lot of people do that. There's only a few people. Anderson Silva is really truly one of the only people. Anderson Silva, and then you have some of the guys that are coming out like Dagestan, like Zabit, that are truly mixing up kung fu with Western boxing. Because the kung fu is a lot of like not just like parries, but blocking and striking and in like a kung fu fashion. And it's just yeah, kung fu is beautiful. The way they strike, and block is just, it's great when you have on MMA gloves. I love kung fu.
No, absolutely, absolutely, and it's kind of funny, right? Because obviously, you know, when people think, you know, what we knew. I mean, I'm a kid of the '80s and '90s, right? So what we thought we knew about, you know, what a tough person was, you know, the guy at the end of the bar, you know, the guy with the, you know, sculpted body, you know, the bodybuilder and what have you, right? And it wasn't until the UFC, you know, the first 5 iterations of the UFC, you kind of saw what worked versus what didn't work. You know, when you saw like the guy at the end of the bar in a habit, or you know, the consummate wrestler of a Dan to be Severn, and then, you know, Royce Gracie, you know, and everybody says Royce Gracie was a smaller guy, right? If you've ever met Royce Gracie in person, he's at least 6'5". I mean, not 6'5". He's at least 6 foot. I'm sorry.
Yeah, and I think he was over 170, right?
Yeah, it was more of the weight discrepancy than anything else. You know, that that was, I guess, the whole thing about, you know, Royce being small. But I mean, I'm 5'9". I was at a Bellator not too long ago at the Forum in Inglewood, California, and Royce, I mean, heads and shoulders towered over me. You know, so he's at least, yeah. So, you know, he's not a small. You know, that's also saying like,
no,
Shawn Michaels in the WWE is a smaller guy. Yes, he might not be as chiseled as Hulk Hogan, but my goodness, Shawn Michaels is 6'2". You know, so there's that.
Yeah, that's big. That's tall.
Yeah, yeah. So it's it's crazy, but again, you know, it's what you think what would work in a fight, right? And when a lot of people ask, you know, that are on the outside, that aren't necessarily, you know, in the combat sports community, they would say, hey, if I were going to train something in self-defense, what would I do, right? Or what would you recommend me to do? And first off, you kind of have to get out of the way of like the self-defense, because you could learn a couple moves, and you know, if you, let's say if you got, you know, you learn some blocks and defenses and what have you, and then you get pushed on the ground, and guess what? All of those blocks and defenses are basically futile. You know, they become nullified because that range of motion is out. You know, that mode of operation is out. And the thing about, I always recommend a grappling of some sort. You know, because even the most ardent of strikers, right? No matter, I mean, we could go to the guys in Muay Thai in Thailand, or you know, the traditional boxing as we know it here in North America, like a Francis Ngannou or Mike Tyson or James Lights Out Tony, and the list goes on and on. Even from a novice level up to the expert level, if there's ever an expert level of striking, you still have to develop your range, right? And if somebody gets inside that range or steps outside that range, again, it's nullified. versus jujitsu, you know, or judo or sambo, catch wrestling, you don't necessarily have to have that range. You can close the distance. You know, even if somebody, you know, pushes you to the ground, you can hit a triangle on them off your back, and you know you can thwart damage. You know, so I think grappling is the thing that most people and why you shouldn't do. I'm not saying you shouldn't do self defense, but it would be more kind of beneficial to you just to take a jiu-jitsu class versus a self-defense class, because again they're teaching, you know, kind of methods of operation, and if those methods of operation get thwarted in any manner at all of your defenses, all of your offenses are pretty much futile.
For me, if someone was to ask me what's one art to learn for self-defense, I would honestly tell them that they shouldn't pick just one art. I would tell them that they should try to be well-rounded. And well, first I would say to start with the hand, start with boxing, honestly, because that's the first line of defense. But at the same time, it's like I would also like to tell them, well, start with learning how to take someone down and then pass their guard and be on top. Oh
no, you're absolutely right. You know, and that's what I love about it. Right, is the fact that there's no two ways, you know, to skin. Just, I guess I don't want to say to peel an onion. I was going to say skin the cat, but that's not cool. But there's so many ways to kind of approach this whole methodology of, you know, being a martial artist. You know, you stick to your traditional, you know, sanshu or and what have you, you know, or just stay a grappler if you're, you know, an NCAA, you know, champion and whatever, or do you switch it up? You know, there's so many ways to kind of approach this, and that's the thing, you know, and that's what I love finding about, you know, different fighters and their approaches, because you learn more about, you know, yourself and the art of mixed martial arts, you know, in why people are involved in it, you know.
But you know, I'm just gonna go ahead and say it. If you could only train one martial art for self-defense, I would say do jiu-jitsu. Because the one thing about, dang it, no, I just can't. I can't because I want to say, like, if you're fighting someone that does not know how to fight, if you take them to the ground, they are lost. And also, not only are they lost, but it takes away their explosion. You can't explode on the ground the way you can on the feet. You know, you have your explosive power. But at the same time, what if they're bigger than you? Which 9 times out of 10, no one's gonna pick a fight with you unless they're bigger than you on the streets, because most of the people out here are cowards. So then you're on the ground with someone that's stronger than you. Which, you know, so then it's like you really probably gonna have to be really, really good. Like your level's gonna have to be a lot above theirs. But the fight always starts on the feet, right? So that's why I would also want to say learn how to box first, because most people don't know how to box at all. They think they got, I see people all the time thinking they got hands on the streets when they literally, they just don't. Like, if they have to fight a trained fighter, someone that actually knows how to box, they're going to get pieced up. That's all there is to it. So if you really know how to block and slip punches and throw straight strikes, like, you're probably going to end up knocking out 9 out of 10 people that you fight on the street. So at the end of the day, we always come back to try to be well-rounded. Know some things on the feet, know some things on the ground. But more than anything, know how to use your hands. You know how to grab someone by the throat. Know how to poke someone in the eyes. Know how to kick someone in the balls, knee them in the balls. You know, when we're talking about street fighting, we're not just talking about, like point. It's not like point fighting. There's no rules. So you want to know how to fight dirty also. And then another thing that people don't use in fights are their teeth. If you end up on the ground with somebody, bite them.
No, absolutely.
Yeah. Like a lot of people
I love how
people also, they think that we have like canines for eating meat and stuff, but I believe we have canines for actually biting for self-defense. And if you ever get into a fight and you're on the ground and you're being completely dominated, one of the first instincts is going to be to bite them. Biting is a natural instinct in fighting, because if you take a chunk out of someone, they're not just going to typically continue. If they're pounding you and you start taking a chunk out of them, they're probably going to stop pounding you to get you to stop biting. Because what happens when you bite someone? You can hit a vein, you can make them bleed out, you know. So your teeth are also a really good weapon as well. So, and a lot of people don't know that. So, but knowing how to use your hands to your fingers, fish hooking someone's mouth, poking the eyes, you know, hitting the pressure points. If you know where pressure points are at, you know, it's a lot easier to not just nullify someone, but distract them as well and hurt them. So yeah, self-defense, man, it's like when we think about self-defense and all the different techniques that are involved in fighting, it's like, think about a beach and all the sand. Each grain of sand is a technique. There's just so many.
No, absolutely. And you know what? One thing that I definitely appreciate is the amount of thought that you put into, you know, your approach to fighting. You know, and well, first off, CNC management in the house. What's up, Carlos and Carrie Leon? What's good? And Alejandro said, I trained with Kathy Long, and she taught us how to eye poke, bite, groin shots, and they're not expecting that, you know. So those are all, I mean, in the mood of the street, you know, that's legal. You know, your local, you know, MMA or boxing. Sorry about that.
Yeah. Sorry.
There you go. I don't know what the heck happened. But yeah, I mean, in the rules of the street, I mean, it's all legal. It's all legal. You know, it's probably not going to be something that your local athletic commission is going to be able to give the green light to. Yeah.
Right.
Obviously not. But I mean, if it's a game of life and death, I mean, you got to save your life.
Right.
Yeah. And Alejandro said, yeah, pressure points. It's all about those pressure points, which you so eloquently basically discussed, man. That's awesome. Now, in terms of like style wise, because I mean, the fights that I watched on YouTube, you definitely have a traditional like kickboxing style, right? How did you develop that? Was that just through the dojo, or was there? I mean, is there a particular fighter that you like to emulate or at least draw from in terms of technique?
Well, I will say this. When I was doing Taekwondo for the first 2 years of my training, a lot of my style I was developing myself by watching a lot of different fighters. But once I started training under the International Self-Defense system, I started to learn. They have their own system, their own style. And so I started to learn their style, and it's more of a mixture of karate, Muay Thai, and boxing. It's like a solid blend of those, and so it's not like a traditional, you know, karate where you're standing sideways, you know, that bladed stance. It's not like boxing where you're, you know, you're what would I say? Where your stance can get very wide, where you dip down really low because you don't have to worry about knees or kicks. It's like a healthy blend of all three of those styles. So if you were to watch me fight now compared to 3 years ago, completely different. Like completely different. my style now is all about without trying to give away too much of my the my system, my techniques, keeping the knees bent, keeping the feet close enough together, not too close, not too far apart, keeping my posture at all times, keeping my hips tucked forward, and never breaking my posture to a point to where I can't do anything. It's about being in a position to where I can always throw a jab, a cross, a uppercut, a hook, a knee, a kick, a hook kick, or I can shoot, or I can trip, or I can sweep. Being able to be in a position where you can literally do anything. Because just like if I shift my weight to the back, now I'm limited with what I can do with what? My back leg and even my back hand. Because in order to send power forward with my backside, I have to do what? Send my weight back forward. And then also, if my weight is too much forward, I can't do very much with my front leg. So it's about really trying to keep the weight right in the center of my legs and keeping my legs at a perfect position. Because when I was in Taekwondo, my stance was way too wide. Like I was so limited. And I had to constantly bring my feet back together to do a lot of things with the hands and to move quicker as well. So, yeah, being in that, like when you get in your sparring stance, being able to keep that stance after every single strike, just like if my hands are here, when I throw my strike, it should come right back here. It shouldn't drop. It shouldn't go over here. It's about being able to throw a strike and come right back to where you are. Everything from my fingertips all the way down to the elbow, to the shoulders and the chest, the core, the hips, the knees, and then even the ankles and the toes. Every single thing has to be like perfect. And then once you develop that solid base from the ground up, then you can play more with the different stances, coming to a back stance. And like I said, now when you're in that back stance and the weight is loaded up on the back leg, sure, you may not be able to kick with the back leg, but you can do so much more with that front leg because it's super light, like the Thai guys do. So yeah. It's just my sensei really, my former sensei really gave me a great base of all these different arts. And he used to say so much to me about like, stop dropping the hands, keep the core tight. Stop doing this, stop doing that, stop doing that. But once I got developed, he stopped saying that so much, because the thing is this: you want to be able to fight. You want to be able to fight textbook before you try to have your own funk, your own style. If I tell you to bake a cake, you need to have a solid recipe down, the base recipe, before you start to tweak it. Otherwise, you're going to be trying to use ingredients that aren't supposed to go, that don't go in it. So, like now I can fight with my hands down and I'm safe because I understand my distance. I understand slipping, and I'm more precise with my hands. Whereas before, if I were to fight with my hands down, I'm probably definitely going to get mollywopped, because, you got to be able to fight here before you can fight down here. It's like,
right.
Yeah.
No, that's, and again, it's all about the understanding of, your abilities, and also, the constant need to improve, the fact that you're pretty much ambidextrous in terms of your fight style, that you could go, a southpaw or technical strike, that almost gives way to all of those different techniques that you have at your disposal, just due to the fact that you can switch in and out, and you're, like you said, you're not covering up one eye and looking out the other. You're just kind of you're well versed in all of those things. So I mean, those kind of both defenses and offense attributes that you've built have kind of led into your style of being able to work both way, orthodox or southpaw.
Right. And you know, I remind myself every day of Bruce Lee's philosophy of having no way as way. And so I hear so many people in the dojos try to talk about what technique is better. Like, so like, if you ask me how to throw a jab, I'm going to tell you there's dozens of ways to throw a jab. Okay. And if you ask me like how to throw a side kick, there's different ways of throwing a side kick. So for one, you have peppering shots, and then you have power shots. A lot of people don't know how to distinguish one from the other. And a lot of people don't like, okay, you have some people, all they do is basically pepper. Pop, 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 short, you know, quick shots, not a lot of power. And then you have other fighters that only want to throw bombs. Me, I try to have a healthy combination of both. I pepper. Some of my shots are peppering, and then some of my shots are, you know, the main course. You know, so a lot of times when I throw my techniques, it's not about me trying to generate as much power as possible. It's just about me trying to touch them. And then some of my techniques, if I kick, I'm trying to kick all the way through you. If I punch, I'm trying to punch all the way through you. But sometimes I'm just trying to touch you. Sometimes I'm not even going to touch you. And what do we call that? A feint. So there's just so many different techniques. I'm just trying to make sure that I stay open-minded and really truly try to understand what techniques to use at the right moment. And a lot of that is going to be, again, we come back to one of Bruce Lee's philosophies, and that's is flowing like water. You don't have to think about what techniques to use when you're right there in the moment. You don't have to try to set things up. It just happens, you know. And there's been times where I've fought in the cage and I flow and I don't think and I put people on their ass. And there's been times where I'm thinking too much and therefore I fight like crap. So, you know, being able to get into that state of flow and fight to your best ability, rather you win or lose, getting into that state of flow and truly doing your best is what it's all about, you know. So that's what we strive for. And that's, I feel like my last fight, I did not do that. At first, when I started off, I was flowing well, but somewhere along the ways, I got caught up in my own sauce and was thinking too much when I should have just been trying to flow more. So, you know, that's also the beauty of fighting. It's hard to compete at your best ability every time you get in there. It's like you watch LeBron James, some games he just don't shoot that well compared to his other games. But we know that he can sink those threes all day long. But not every game you're going to play your best. And it's taken me a lot of meditation and a lot of thought to be able to let go of my ego and understand that no matter what, I'm growing as a martial artist. I'll continue to get better. And will I win? Yes. Will I lose? Yes. Do I want to lose? Hell to the no. I don't want to lose. I hate losing. It drives me nuts. I lost my last fight, and guess what? It hit me hard right here in the heart. It hit me so hard. Like, about sent me into a depression. Like, I hated it, but I had to look back at my techniques and realize even though I made a lot of mistakes, the techniques that were crisp looked better than any of my techniques in my last fights ever before. Like my jab and my uppercut look like, for one, my uppercut looks so sharp. And 2 years ago, my uppercut looked like crap. I didn't even know how to throw it really. Sure, I could throw it. Sure, I could connect, but it was not crisp the way that it is now. So, you know, we have to look at our career as a whole instead of just living off of every fight like a lot of fighters do. You know, when you won your last fight, you're training every day with this confidence and this superiority, thinking that you're, you know, I'm a winner. But when you lose your fight, now until your next win, you can be kind of training with that mindset like, I'm a fucking loser, you know. But that's not a winner's mindset. So I keep a winner's mindset. So like the guy I just fought in what month was that? Just a month ago I fought. You know, he beat me by decision. We went all 3 rounds. But like I told everybody after the fight that discussed the fight with me, I bet if we fought 2 weeks after that, I'd knock his ass out. And I truly believe that because that was just one fight, one night. And I give my performance a C-. If it was an A+ performance, I would have knocked him out, you know. And I'm not going to make excuses, but the factors are I'm better than him. I'm better than him. My techniques, I would bet any amount of money, all my techniques are better than his. But I feel like that night, he didn't get tired as fast as I did. His cardio was a little bit better than mine. And also, I was coming up fighting at 155. I'm a 145er. He walks around at like 170 plus. So I knew it was going to be a challenge. I know a lot of times when I talk about my fights, I make it seem like these guys aren't going to be shit when I fight them, but I know they're a challenge. You know, of course, they're trained fighters too, but I have confidence in myself and my techniques. And if you were to watch that fight, you would see that my techniques were better than his, but he just went berserker and kept the pressure on me, never let up. The times that I tried to circle back to the center of the cage and even turn my back and tried to sprint to the center of the cage to turn around and reset, he was running after me. Like, he did not let up. He did not let up. And round 2, oh my God, I was drowning, just trying to catch my breath back and get my energy back and reset. And round 3, I kind of, you know, like when you're training and you're like, oh, you're breathing hard, you're climbing up that hill, and then you finally get to the top of that hill, and now you can coast and you got your energy back. It's like that second win. So I started to get that round 3, and round 3, I looked so much better than I did in round 2, and I was landing some nice shots. But I'll tell you this right now, Derek Albright, he has a hard skull and a hard chin. Because I was cracking him, it wasn't phasing him at all. And guess what? He was cracking me. And did he ever get close to knocking me out? No, but his shots were taking a lot of toll on my breathing and my stamina. So he did a good job, and he never let up. But I still know I'm a better fighter than him. I know that I am. My striking is way better than his. I'm way more well-rounded, and I would bet you this. If I was 10 pounds heavier naturally, there's no way he would have walked through any of those shots I was hitting him with. There's no way. I can show you. Like, he wouldn't have walked through them shots, but, you know, he's a bigger guy, and he took my shots. He ate them. So then that's all I can say about that. He ate my shots. But guys in my weight class, they can't eat my shots. They can't, because I have a lot of power. And so, like, yeah, I could have beat myself up about it, but I'm just like, you know what? He's a bigger guy. What can I expect? You know, not only he's not just a bigger guy, he's a bigger trained fighter. Now, a bigger guy on the street, I'm gonna thump them and they're gonna drop. But against another trained fighter, it's a different story. So I compare my last fight to, like, look at when Conor McGregor fought Nate Diaz, their first fight. You see how many times he dropped him. You seen how much more crisp his boxing was. But Nate Diaz just has that gas and has that chin. And so he could not finish him. And he ended up getting tired and getting finished. Now look what happened in the second fight.
No, 100%.
All 5 rounds with him and pieced him up every single round. So I know that if I was to fight Derek again, I would either piece him up every round or I'd drop him. But being humble and knowing what I know now, I know that it would be very hard for me to drop him because he has a very good chin. But I believe that if I was to fight him again, I would outscore him, and I wouldn't let him just do his little berserker shit. And then also, when we tied up and we were in the clinch, dude, my clinch was so much better than him. I don't even think he landed any knees, but I was landing quite a few knees on him. And there was one time where I grabbed the clinch, put him down, kneed, and then I literally turned the corner, and swung his whole body around and kneed him again. Like, you can see how much more dominant I was in the clinch. But he was bigger than me. So for me to grab a hold of him and control him, man, it was taking a lot of energy, a lot. But you know what? I had fun, and I got so much better, and I just keep getting better. Like I said, I've been kickboxing now for 3 years, and my record is 9-3, which is a damn good record. And I've never been dropped, and I've never been finished. The only time I've been beat was when they outpointed me, landed a few more shots, and we went the distance. I've never been dropped, and I've never been finished, even going against the bigger guys. So, you know, I have proved to myself that I do have grit, and I do have a chin too, because my last fight, I took more shots than I have in all my other 11 fights. He hit me quite a few times, and I still continue to fight. And even in round 3, I was landing some good shots. Round 2, my movement was crappy. But round 3, now that he was a little more tired also, I slowed it down. And I really got to slip and send shots. I was slipping a lot better and countering. Whereas the round 2, I was literally just trying to move around and catch my breath. So, yeah, I just keep proving to myself time and time again that my progression is just like me. I'm not like one of the fighters that just slowly progresses. When you see me from one fight to the next, even if it's only 2 months apart, you see a phenomenal increase in my overall techniques and strategies in a fight. So I know that in a few years I will be in the UFC and I'll be a world champion because of my athleticism, my build, and my training and my techniques and strategies. It's as simple as that. You know, I train smart. I don't go into the dojo and spar all the time and let guys beat up on me and give me concussions in training camp. None of that shit. You know what I'm saying? I drill and 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 I drill, and the techniques just develop, and my strategies are developing more wisely, and my fight IQ is getting higher. And man, I'm just excited for my career because I feel like my style is probably what's most exciting about my career, but I would say what like is neck and neck with that excitement, you know, from a spectator standpoint, is my size. I'm 6'1", and I fight at 145. And
Wow.
my wingspan, like my legs are just super long, and so are my arms. Like, you can't really see on the camera because, you know, they don't.
Right.
My arms are super long. My legs are super long. I'm just so lanky for 145. And, you know, I walk around at 155 if I really truly wanted to. And that's me kind of just, I mean, my diet's pretty clean, but if I would like the cleanest of clean, I'll be walking around between 150 and 155. So I know that I can cut down to 135. Imagine me fighting at 135 at 6'1".
That's crazy.
Dangerous. Like, look at Sugar Sean O'Malley, which I love Sugar Sean O'Malley. I watch all his podcasts, and I love watching his fights. If anytime he's going to fight, I'm going to buy that pay-per-view because I love his style. We have very similar styles. And he's 5'11", and look how big he looks at 135.
Yeah, man, and you know, it's crazy with Sugar Sean because in his entry into the UFC, he fought one of my friends and I mean a longtime guest in Terrion Flash Ware, and Terrion Ware was a three-time regional champion, and I mean had almost close to 17 fights in his career at that point, and competed in boxing, outstanding jiu-jitsu, outstanding striking, nice technical striking, and my goodness, like, it was just crazy how much that Sean O'Malley, I mean, you're seeing the progression right in front of your your face, you know, with Sean O'Malley. Same thing with, like, you know, when you were talking about your technique and learning on the job type training, you know, it almost reminds me of Angela Overkill Hill, where, you know, she kind of got an early run in the promotion of the UFC, and you're still seeing her evolve. And most people had, after her, you know, kind of ousting from the UFC the first time and going into Invicta, they thought like, oh, her career was done. And she went through a tear in Invicta, came back, and looks even more outstanding than she did than in her first run.
Right.
Yeah, man. Well, it's funny. Alejandro says he has to jump off, but he says thank you for the interviews. Thank you. But he says to you, Willie, if you're in LA, if you want street tacos and horchata, he's hooking you up. So there you go. We'll keep it lean. We'll keep it lean. But we got some vegan tacos. We've got yeah, man. So there we go. So he's just like, don't forget your mask, you know. But he's treating you to street tacos. So that's it. And we do have vegan options. We are LA, so there's that. So you don't have to worry about messing up your diet.
Sweet, yeah, yeah. And that's another. So that's another thing that I know is people are going to fall in love with is the fact that I'm vegan. Even the people that are meat eaters and aren't for the vegan diet, or even think it's weird, or think that it's stupid, they're gonna love to watch me fight, either to watch me win or watch me lose. Everyone's gonna be curious to see this guy as a vegan. Let's see what type of athlete he is. You know what I'm saying? Let's see what type of gas tank he has. Let's see what, and like even Sugar Sean O'Malley, the fact that he was vegan was kind of like a big kind of thing that, you know, people like that he was vegan, but he's not anymore. But that was kind of like, he was a vegan stoner, and everyone liked that about him, you know. So I have a great personality. I already know they're gonna love me, man. People are gonna eat up everything that I do and everything that I say, because I'm just a likable guy, you know what I'm saying? I'm just really down to earth, and I can have a conversation with anybody, man. Like, I'm just a really likable guy, and I'm unique, I'm interesting. And yeah, I can't wait to be on a very big platform and have a very big following. I know that time is coming, and I'm here to promote healthy lifestyles. You know, I actually, one of my biggest goals in life, arguably probably a bigger goal than being a world champion, is to be a healer. You know, just from promoting healthy lifestyles. You know, I want to help shed light on healthy lifestyles in this nation, because here in America, man, there's so many unhealthy lifestyles. It's as simple as that, you know, and I really want to promote healthy eating, healthy living, you know, a healthy mindset, really taking care of your body and all that good stuff, because that at the end of the day, or at the beginning of the day and the end of the day, that's what life is about. Feeling good physically, mentally, and spiritually, you know. So those are the three things that I strive for. And yeah, I'm a what's the word I'm looking for? I love attention. I love attention. I love being on stage in front of people. I love when people look at me in awe. You know what I mean? Like, a lot of people aren't like that, but I am. I really am. So, yeah, I was born to be a performer, basically, is what I'm saying.
No, that's so brilliant, and that's it. You know, those, you know, when you talk about, you know, the game of angles, right? You know, whether it be a striking style or a grappling style, or even, you know, when you're talking about like UFC title contentions, or even, you know, fight night headlining fights, or, you know, headlining a pay-per-view, right? It's that intangible, that difference, right? And, you know, it was said by Curtis Blades when Daniel Cormier was champion, right? And, you know, Brock Lesnar came in right after DC knocked out Stipe, and, you know, the first person to chime in, you know, was Curtis Blades, and he was like, what, everybody's going to overlook me for a title shot? I'm a consummate mixed martial artist, right?
Right.
And the catch-22, Dana White retorted. He was like, you know what? Being a consummate mixed martial artist, I mean, it's great and all, but I mean, all that'll do is have you teaching classes at your local dojo, you know. But what is the thing that people are going to look for? What is that intangible ability, you know? And you're kind of, like you said, a melding of styles. Not only are you technically proficient, you know, technically proficient on the ground, on the feet, and constantly evolving your game, but also doing things like this and starting your YouTube channel to make you more broader in terms of your appeal. And who knows what opportunity could lay ahead of you with doing all of those things when you're the whole package. The fighting styles are, hey, I only like the fighting styles, I don't like the talking. Okay, well, you fit that quotient for that segment of fans. Oh, I like the talking, but not so much the fighting style. Well, guess what? Willie Lee Henderson is your guy to do that too. So, you know, that broad appeal, you just never know what's going to hook and catch people, you know, in terms of their wanting to know more about you. But you check all the boxes, you know?
Right. And, you know, I don't want people to think that I'm not humble, but, you know, if they don't think that, oh, well, you know, because at the end of the day, when I become a pro, I have to sell tickets. I have to pit butts and seats. Yep. So I'm going to have to do a lot of this. Sure, I might not have to, but guess what? I want to be a draw. You know what I'm saying? I don't want to just be a great martial artist that no one wants to see fight. I want to be the type of fighter that win, lose, or draw, they want to watch me fight. You know what I'm saying? I'd love to be the guy that nobody wants to see lose, but is that really the person that gets paid? Because I recall there's a whole lot of people that want to see Conor McGregor lose all the time. And a lot of people talk about, I don't like his mouth, but you love watching him fight because he truly knows how to finish people and mix it up.
Yeah, so, no, 100%. I mean, that's the thing, you know, that it's almost like Pro Wrestling 101, where, you know, it being a draw, right? It doesn't matter if you're the good guy babyface, it doesn't matter if you're the bad guy heel, but the fact that people are paying to see you either win or lose. When you've got no reaction at all, you're in the wrong business.
Right. Absolutely. Yes. And I don't want that. No, I want to be the guy that people are cheering for, and I want to be famous, and for the right reasons. First, to secure financial freedom for my family, and then second, so I can truly have influence. And anytime I say something that holds merit and that is good, people attach themselves to it. You know, when I tell people, you know, you should exercise 3 to 5 times a week, even if it's just a little something. I want millions of people to hear that aren't exercising and get motivated to exercise, and millions of people that are exercising and get even more motivated to exercise just as much or more. You know, I love watching videos and taking motivation from people, and I want to be one of those people that people are taking motivation from. I know a lot of people get motivation from me already, you know, but one day it's going to be millions, if not billions of people, you know, tuning in to watch me fight. Anytime a video pops up, everyone's going to be like, oh, I want to watch, you know, people are going to be blowing me up and stuff. You know, I can't wait for that because I want to change people's lives and I want to be an inspiration.
No, and right now, now more so than ever, I mean, it's a kind of crazy time in the world, right? And it's some, you know, things that are happening, I mean, not just nationally, but globally, right? You know, people are looking for things to kind of, you know, be motivated by and looking for a canary in the coal mine, so to speak. So, I mean, that kind of run of positivity is sorely needed, you know, in the world right now, which I have to ask you, what is the scene like in Missouri right now? Because here I am in California, and it looks like we're not going to have any sanctioned California State Athletic Commission fights. That's talking, MMA. That's talking Muay Thai. That's boxing in the state of California. It's looking like we won't get anything until the end of the year, if not the beginning of next year. So, what is the scene like in terms of the combat sports community or training there in Missouri?
So, when the shutdown started, obviously a lot of things, everything shut. All that fighting stuff shut down. A lot of dojos shut down. I personally, I never stopped training. I kept going to the dojo. But now everything is starting to open back up. Like I said, I fought about a month ago here in Cape Girardeau, Missouri, which is where I live. And like if you were to go outside right now, there's a lot of people wearing masks. There's a lot of people that aren't wearing masks. They actually just ordered in my city for everyone to have to wear a mask in almost every single store, but some stores you don't. But I just did a jiu-jitsu tournament. It was an in-house tournament in Farmington, Missouri. And I was supposed to do a tournament July the 18th in Kansas City, Missouri, but they pushed that back to November. So some things are getting pushed back, but other things aren't. Like they're supposed to be having some fights, MMA fights in St. Louis, August the 15th, I believe. So that's coming up. So a lot of things are opening back up. So there are fights happening here in Missouri right now.
Well, that's great. I mean, that's great that there's again, that canary in the coal mine, that beacon of light in so much darkness. And you are one who kind of purports yourself as a beacon of positivity, for yourself, for your community at large, and that is amazing. And like I said, it's sorely needed, And I have to ask you, where can people find you on social media to get a bit of that powerful fitness, that positivity that Willie Lee Henderson III is basically enlisting everyone to do?
So you can look up, just look up Willie Lee Henderson III, and the third, there's no Roman numerals on the keyboard, obviously, so it's just like I. But yeah, just look up my name on Facebook, Instagram, Twitter, and then I also have Powerful Fitness is my business. I'm a personal trainer as well, so you can look up Powerful Fitness on Facebook and Instagram and Twitter as well. And then I also have a YouTube channel under my name, and then I have a YouTube channel called Lean Vegan, where I just show basically what type of things I eat as a vegan athlete, and then some of my workouts as well.
That is tremendous. That's tremendous because, again, there are people that have packed on pounds during this whole quarantine deal, and not living the best healthy lifestyle. And as things start to open up, people are looking for ways to kind of get back in the mode of things. And, you're providing opportunity via your YouTube channel to kind of show people that may not know how to do those things on their own. You're the helping hand to kind of reach them and pull them out to basically become their bigger greatness.
Right. Yeah. So I help people get in shape, through private lessons and, teaching them certain exercises. And then also I help people get on a diet plan that is specifically designed for them, help them figure out truly what's going to help them lose weight or maintain the weight they have and give them all the fuel, all the nutrients and, the nutrition that they need.
That's tremendous, man. You know what? I subscribed right before we joined on, and I definitely recommend all of you guys do the same. But Willie, any parting words before we head out of here?
Yes. First, I'd like to give a shout out to my friend Everett. I'm trying to think what was.
Shout out to Everett Osmer, man.
Osmer,
He's the one who set this up. Yeah.
Yeah, Everett Osmer. He man, I love that guy. He's just a fan that messages me from time to time and asks me how I'm doing, and I always love chatting with him. And so he is the one that connected us. So shout out to him. Thank you very much, Everett. And then also I'd like to give a shout out to my business, obviously, Powerful Fitness. No matter where you're at, if you're not close by, we can always FaceTime. But if you're here in Cape Girardeau, Missouri, please hit me up. You know, don't worry about how much it costs or anything. That's everyone's first question. How much does the services cost? Don't worry about that, because you know this is a passion business, and I have passion. You know, I do this because I love helping people. And then I'd like to give a shout out to Tranquility Tea Company. I use their CBD products. They have CBD tea and coffee, and I drink it every day or night to help me combat my major inflammation from training.
No, and that's the thing. You know, CBD is definitely a big thing, and as the regulations change from state to state, you know, in terms of legalizing, you know, CBD, it is a powerful, powerful tool to overcome injuries, inflammation, things like mental anguish and anxiety. You know, it's literally, you know, coming from the earth, and it's giving right back to us in the form of this wonderful product. So yeah, man, we definitely got to check that out.
Awesome. But yeah, that was perfect timing. I see it that you're trying to wrap it up, because my Mac is about to die.
Uh-oh, there you go. But for Willie Lee Henderson III, I'm According to Woods. Thank you guys for joining us. Willie, thank you again. And you've got open season here at According to Woods. So anytime you want on, let me know.
Awesome. I look forward to the next interview.
Absolutely, as do I. And thank you guys for joining us. This has been According to Woods, and we are out. Bye.